All right,
Hello.
welcome to Tech Tips. Talking about strings today.
We are. We're talking about strings.
Yeah, strings are quite important, aren't they?
They are quite important.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that they're in the top 15 important things, probably around four, of guitar stuff.
Yeah, I mean, some people would say without the strings, there's almost no point.
Almost.
Almost.
But what do you want to know about strings?
Well, there's a lot of different types of strings out there. We've got a few on the table today.
Yeah, we've pulled these out of our bags.
Yeah, I'm sure loads of people wanted to know, like, how do you begin to start choosing your set of strings?
All right. Well, yeah. There's loads of different ones. We won't go into too much detail because it's a massive rabbit hole. But we'll start off with just saying the sizes. We're talking gauges, all right?
Okay.
If someone says string gauge, they're talking about the thickness of the strings, okay? The thickness of each wire.
And that's what these numbers are.
Yeah, that's what the numbers are.
Yeah.
Now, you've got light strings. They're 9s or lower. You can go to 8s. They're really thin. Only some people use those. But 9s or lower are considered a light gauge. 10s and 11s are considered medium, and 12s and above are considered a heavy gauge, all right? Okay. Now, light gauges are quite tinny, quite a bright tone, but they're really easy to push down, really easy to bend, so if you're a beginner, it's quite a good thing to start off with.
I started on 9s.
Yeah. And then heavies are really good for dealing with, if you're into heavy metal, you'll detune a lot, you'll go into lower tunings. And if you've got a light gauge, it will just flap about and sound a bit flappy. But the heavier gauges sort that out quite well. They're warmer in tone, but they are also harder to push down, harder to bend. Okay? So you've got 9s, 10s, 11s, 12s, and loads of variations in between.
Okay, so when you're talking about those numbers, when you're saying 9s, 10s, 11s, like what actually is that? Is that just one size for all the strings, or? So
we're always referring to the thinnest string, the high E string. Okay? So here's a set of 9s. Now, each set is optimized for playability, okay? So each manufacturer has, said that these 6 gauges work really well in that thing, okay? So, but rather than going to a shop and going, oh, hello, could I have a set of 9s, 11s, 16s, 24s, 32s and 42s? You go, can I just get a set of 9s? Or a set of 10s?
Okay, so it's a standardized set of gauges.
Standardized set of gauges.
That's what we mean when we say 9s. Yeah. Okay.
But if you're, you can also get like hybrid stuff. This one's a hybrid.
Okay.
This one has a particularly thick G string. Okay. But you use a hybrid set as your standard stuff, don't you?
I use the top heavy bottoms.
Which means that the top strings are probably what's 10s.
Yeah, it's 10.
And then like the lower strings are a thicker gauge.
Yeah, thicker gauge. Yeah. So it's thicker than your average 10. Yeah.
And that's gauges. So if you're thinking gauges, or you have no idea what people are talking about when they say gauge, or you're probably using 10s, or these 9s, you always get that, don't you?
Yeah.
That's what they're talking about.
Okay. A gauge is the only thing to think about when it comes to strings?
No. Let's talk about the core of the string, actually. The core. Yeah. All right. So your top strings. Let me grab this guitar. Your top 3 strings, the E, B, and the G, are just the core by themselves. Okay. They're probably a round core. You can get hex cores. That's quite modern. Anything post 1980s are hex cores. Okay, which is just the shape of a hex. But then the lower strings are the core, which is still steel's core going through. But then the lower strings are wrapped with a material. Okay, and the materials can be different. Most are nickel, and nickel are just like the frets are a warm tone. And then you can get steel, which is a brighter tone. I mean, the difference, minuscule, but it's there.
All comes down to preference.
The acoustic, actually, if you grab yours.
Yep.
Now, acoustic are different. They use bronze and brass, okay? So, and like steel and nickel, I believe brass is brighter and bronze is a bit smoother, a bit soft, a bit warmer. But that being said, each core is still steel, hence the name steel string acoustic.
Okay.
All right. We haven't even mentioned nylon strings yet.
Nylon strings?
Yeah. So nylons, they're just classical guitar strings. In fact, before nylon strings, classical guitar strings and most strings, I think, were made out of cat gut.
Cat gut?
Yeah. Or animal gut, but cat gut as well.
Nice.
Yeah. All right, so that's the material. Now, like I said, the material is wrapped around the strings, but but you can wrap it different ways.
Oh, okay.
Do you know any?
Well, there's your normal ones. They're round wounds, aren't they?
These are all hard to say. So
there's round wounds.
Round wound.
And then there's flat wounds.
Flat wounds.
Flat
with
wounds,
a W.
Flat wounds.
Yeah.
And that's because if you feel a normal string, your round wound, it's got a bit of texture to it.
In fact, if you get a pick, you can actually hear it on the pick scrape, can't you?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I don't know if this will come through. You can hear that kind of crack.
There's that friction there.
Yeah, but a flat wound doesn't do that.
Smooth, isn't it?
Yeah, smoother. Actually, while we're there talking about that, flat wounds are more jazzy kind of vibes because of the tones really warm, and then round wounds are the opposite. More rocky. They're the standard ones. You've probably got round wounds on your guitar.
And there's a halfway in between.
There is a half, but this one's really annoying because it's not called half wound. It's called half round.
Half round.
So you got round wound, flat wounds, and half rounds. But you told me this morning it's a different name as well for it.
I've heard some people call them ground wounds as well, that middle one.
Just to confuse you, yeah?
It's too early for all these names.
Yeah, okay, so that's the winding. Again, it's preference, if you prefer a smoother tone, smoother feel, use flat wounds. If you don't, or you haven't noticed a difference, you're probably using round.
Yeah.
All right? So you should ask me a question now to lead on. Yeah, to lead on to the next bit.
What question should I ask you?
Ask me how often you should change the strings.
Oh, how often should we change our strings?
Good question, Joe, because that's quite a open-ended question. It is. How often? Depends how often you use your guitar, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Different people sweat differently. All right. If you're a heavy sweater, you're probably going to need to change your strings more often.
I mean, what happens to the strings? Like
it corrodes the strings, and then as the strings get corroded, more dirt and grime get caught in the round wounds. And the tone is more duller, darker. Okay. All right.
So it changes the tone.
Yeah. So normally, if you're playing, a couple hours a day, maybe once a month, once every couple months, or even once every 3. But you can get these things called coated strings. Yeah, coated strings. And these are manufactured with
these are coated,
they're coated. There's different ones, there's different kinds. I mean, God, these guys do polyweb, nanoweb, and optoweb. They're just different kind of tones, but essentially coated strings are plastic polymer over the guitar string to protect it from your sweaty fingers. Yeah,
nice.
They last, so it is said, they last 3 times longer.
Okay.
All right. But I know for a fact that if you've got a standard set of strings that don't have a coating on them, if you're brave enough to wipe down your guitar.
Brave enough?
Brave enough.
Is it dangerous?
Organised enough.
Right, okay.
not lazy.
Right, okay.
To wipe down your guitar, after every time you play, they last just as long anyway. Yeah. Yeah, but we're all lazy musicians, so who cares, yeah? Anyway.
So we'll just get the fancy polymer coated wonder strings, yeah. Okay.
Cool.
So overview on the strings then. So the different things, we've got gauges, that's kind of one of the biggest things, your different string sizes.
But there's so many gauges, man, there's so many. I mean, let's just ask the set. I mean, what do you use?
10s, 11, 8s,
9s.
9s.
9s. 8s.
8s. 8s are fine.
8s are fine. They're very thin.
They're very thin.
Yeah.
But they're fine. So yeah, all sorts of different preferences.
Yeah.
I'd say just like start off with, your 9s and your 10s and see what you like. And then if there's something you're looking for, like, oh, I wish it sounded a bit beefier, try something heavier. Or if you're really into your bends or you're fast playing, maybe get some lighter strings.
Well, I use 10s for electric guitar, but 11s for acoustic.
There you go.
Because I feel that they're a bit more responsive, a bit more warmer on the acoustic guitar.
There are no right answers. You just got to play around with it.
Cool. Well,
and then you've got your different materials as well.
Again, different materials.
You've got to try them out.
Different wounds.
Yeah.
Rounds.
And if you're particularly sweaty, maybe look at your special coatings to make them last longer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
Or wipe down your strings. Yeah.
All right, that's everything for today, isn't it?
That's everything. So, cheers for watching.
Thanks very much, guys. Don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button.
Is it there?
And the bell icon. Is it down there? I think it's down that way. Anyway.
Yeah.
Hit all those buttons and we'll catch you next time.